I feel like we could just launch our motivational speaker career.
I've always wanted to, just don't have time between career and motivational speaking. I don't know where I could get the extra time.
LinkedIn is a start.
No, those people are liars. Sorry.
One thing about the internet is you can find so many things. For people, you can find a community. For others, you can find spaces to buy stuff. One of those years, I picked up a friend, and today I'm so glad that you get to meet her on today's episode of Thrive with Mulungi. Welcome aboard. I do hope that you're doing great and that everything is checking out. In case it's not, grab a cup of tea or coffee and let's just get into someone else's life for a few minutes, shall we? And today I'm so amazed because my guest today is a proper story of from, you know, the proverbial from grass to grace. I hope she's still up there. But it's a very, for me, it's a story of resilience. It's a story of determination, but also of embracing who you are, regardless of where you come from. And I am so amazed that I get to share Daniela with you, who I must confess, I had one of those moments, you know, those moments you have with like our friends where they ask you, what does your friend do for a living? And you just keep quiet. You're like, she works in accounts. You know, she works for a living. And of course, Daniela is not just here as a friend of mine, but she's also here in various capacities. This very amazing woman has worked with some of the organizations that some of us dream of, but also she's very passionate about climate change. And I got to learn while trying to dig up that she's a climate change specialist. Daniela, you're welcome to Thrive with Mulungi. I am so amazed that we get to do this because I don't remember the last time you were here. Oh, she stays outside countries. I must add. So it's one of those where when you get her, you definitely make the most out of the moment. How are you?
I am fine. Thank you for having me in the brief time that I am here.
I love the face bit. I love the hair.
Yeah.
So we usually start with a form of affirmation.
Yeah.
And I will look into the camera for this one. I think she's one of the people that personifies generosity. I don't know how you do it, but there are times when you're like, I'm so grateful for how generous your heart is, but I'm also very grateful for how you did not allow for your success to change you. In a sense, because when you are still on the streets of Twitter, you know, very many of us would relate. You would talk about where you came from, Queen of Chiboha, like with so much pride. The accent hasn't changed, guys. It's a little different because, you know, years of being away does that to you. But I think that you've stayed very true to yourself. I miss your stories about your grandma. If you have followed her for a while, you know, we now know her grandma's name, but I'm pretty sure if you don't, by the end of the time we're done with the interview, you definitely will know of a one Agnes. And I really appreciate that about you. Thank you for all that you are and all that you do. And I think for me, when I think women that chase their dreams, you are one of them.
Oh, thank you.
Don't stop. Some of us look up to you. But what has that been like for you?
I have to say it has been a whirlwind, you know. I think as a Ugandan, you know, we just fall into our careers most of the time.
Yeah.
And by the time you start thinking of planning a career, you are well into it. And it's like you're catching up to everybody else. But I am lucky in that I really had so many angels looking out for me along the way. And somehow they gave me this advice of, you know, when this happens, this is what you should do and whatnot. And it's important to pass that on because as a Ugandan, I know majority of my friends, majority of my colleagues, we don't have career guidance, we don't have career planning or whatnot. And it so happens that when I went to university, I ended up with a course I didn't like. I think that's like 90% of Ugandans.
What course was it?
I ended up with surveying and land information systems, and I looked at myself. I was a very tiny girl, and I was like, I cannot be carrying this equipment in the bush, in my boots, going to survey some plot of land wherever. I didn't know. And I was really scared about that, about my course, and it affected my grades my very first semester at campus. But then one uncle of mine told me, I was like, you know what, this is just your undergrad. What if you find something out of that course that you like, and then you decide to like go ahead and master in that? And I think that was life-changing advice for me, you know, and I actually took that, and it has helped me. I ran with it, you know, and now the other courses that I was doing, they kind of like were imperekezi for my future career. But I found this one thing in my course that I had a passion for. And when I finished my undergrad, of course, you know, you do practice as a surveyor for a short time. I knew that was just a brief stop, not my entire journey, because I had found what I wanted from that course. And because of that, I started looking for scholarships and whatnot. I think the most important thing I've learned about my career is to not count yourself out. Let the world count you out, but you're not supposed to say no to anything. You're not supposed to look at an opportunity and think, this is too big for me. I think I'm underqualified. I don't have the years of experience and whatnot. And that helped me a lot. And I actually attribute that to my grandmother. She has this crazy faith in me. She somehow thinks I'm like superwoman. I can do anything. And sometimes whenever I lack faith in myself, I just have to think of who believes in me the most and kind of piggyback on that. So even how I got my scholarship to go for my master's, this was a mid-career scholarship. I had just worked for 1 year. 1 year. Mid-career means they are looking for people with 6-7 years. I remember when I moved to the Netherlands for my master's, I think there were 3 girls, 2 from Uganda and 1 Kenyan, and we were the youngest. And everyone had left their family at home because they were really mid-career people, you know, and we barely had a career.
But there you are,
in
a foreign land. I'm going to pause right there because I know that there is so much that we're going to start with and just bring you back. We're going to first play a game because I'm pretty sure with your career, there's so many gems that are going to be in there. So this is a very simple game that we play. It's called 10 in 30. I ask you 10 questions and you answer them in 30 seconds.
Okay.
Without flinching.
Let's see.
All right. So if we are to check your playlist right now, what 3 artists are asking for water?
Water?
They are non-stop. Like if they could tell you, Danny, please, they are on your replay. 3 artists.
Just any artists on my playlist?
Yes, that you have been playing non-stop.
Okay, it would have to be Bruno Mars.
Which door are you leaving open?
All the doors are always open for opportunities to enter. Okay.
Bruno Mars.
So I don't close out anything. So there is, I would say, Bruno Mars, Kelly Clarkson, and there is this new band. I don't know their name, but I kind of got their music from they have they think they played the lead song in Shrinking. So the song,
watched it, but
that song is called Frightening Fishes, you know. It's a very nice show. It's on Apple Plus. Please watch that show. It's called Shrinking. It's really nice.
On behalf of people that depend on Vagaga for logins, you know what to do, please. But let's move. If you could switch lives with one person or a fictional character, who would it be?
Rachel from Friends.
What? I'm not going to ask for why. If you know, you know. What stereotype needs to be wrapped up ASAP?
Stereotypes. Oh, okay. I don't know, because I don't really deal in stereotypes at all. I don't know if that's a big one.
It's a big one?
Because I'm not a stereotypical person. But I would say, I don't know, that you can't have it all. Like, you can't have a career and then have a family and do what. For me, I believe there are seasons for everything, and depending on how you plan your life, you can actually do everything you want to do. Yeah, if you set your mind.
Very interesting. So you're waking up from a nap. What topic can you address without even flinching?
Any topic.
One, just one.
One
you up and say, Danila, come, TED Talk.
Okay. Pineapple does not belong on pizza.
What? Where does it belong?
You can eat pineapple if you need to, but don't put it on pizza, period.
That's crazy. Anywho, if Basama were to send you to address one thing that we Ugandans do that they wish would change, finish the sentence with Basama sent me to tell you.
To keep time. Please, I beg you.
We try.
No.
We keep Ugandan time.
No. Ugandan time is a myth.
It's a myth.
Time is money, you know. Time is precious. It's very important. And it's very disrespectful to have an appointment with someone for 2 p.m. and you show up at 4 p.m.
or 5.
I actually used to have a blacklist of people who I was supposed to fight for timekeeping. So they still exist, but I am a very peaceful person and I'm happy.
So we need to
I won't
change
be
our
fighting anyone.
Yeah.
But timekeeping it's really bad.
Ah, okay. What's that one thing about your hometown? Because you talk about Chivoha like all the time.
I know.
What's that one thing your town does better than anywhere in the world?
Okay. I don't know if they still do that, but I would say playing. You know, when I was a child in Kivoha, we played. We used to have a well. It was deep down in the depression, and everyone would come from all corners to fetch water from that specific point. And we would go at 5 p.m. after school and come back at 8 p.m. and then get caned.
What would the uniforms be looking like?
No, we never used to go in uniforms. You'd come home, change from uniform, go to fetch water. But then play and forget that you were supposed to bring the water back home. And then do it all over again, like day after day
no
after
matter
day.
The cane.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that little place.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Does it get better or do we get better?
I think both, a little bit of both. Because when you get better, you can make things better as well.
I feel like we could just launch our motivational speaker career.
I've always wanted to, just don't have time between career and motivational speaking. I don't know where I could get the extra time.
LinkedIn is a start.
No, those people are liars, sorry.
What feminist hill would you gladly die on?
Feminist hill? Yeah, housework needs to be shared. Please, your wife is not your maid. That hill, I will die from there. I'm working 9 to 5, you're working 9 to 5, and somehow I have to come and do all of the work? Oh, unless my money is my money and your money is for everybody.
But you realize
within the house.
That work would be for everybody. Maybe the very last one would be, what is life currently teaching you?
Life is currently teaching me to enjoy the season I am in. Yeah.
That's very beautiful.
You see, we try to look here and do this and do that and do the other things, and sometimes we forget that life is passing by us. And that was a lesson I learned during COVID, because it was a time to regress a little bit, spend some time with yourself, I know most of us found out we don't really like ourselves that much.
Yeah.
But you know, you realize that you've been on the go, go, go the whole time, but somehow you forgot to take some time and breathe. So I've learned to take some time for myself to enjoy the moment I'm in, enjoy the season that I'm in, and, you know, see how that goes.
That's lovely. You've given us a bit of outlook about how life was, you know, growing up in Kiboha. For anyone that does not know, where is Kiboha located?
In Fort Portal, Kabarole. I'm Mtoro.
No wonder you speak so graciously, but don't be fooled, she can call you out gracefully as well. You grew up with your grandmother, Miss Agnes. I don't know the other name because you usually refer to her as her first. Do you think that life would have been a bit different if you had grown up somewhere else, or do you think that everything has honestly gone, if there is like a big person out there that makes a plan for us?
No, I would say it wouldn't change a thing, honestly. Like, I had a good thing going. So many people cannot say they were friends with the person they grew up with, their caretaker, whether it was your parents or whatnot. But me and Agnes, we had this thing going. We were friends, you know. I would bring my reports and I would explain to her how I performed. So if I lied, she wouldn't have known because, you know, ladies from those days got married way too young, never finished school and whatnot. So somehow living with Agnes taught me personal responsibility, you know. I will give you an example. I did not do well in my senior 5 first term, and I came and told her the truth. I was like, you know what? I got 5 points and this is what I did and this and this. And she asked me, what do you need? Like, what can we do to improve? I felt like my whole life was a group project between the two of us. And I was so free with her that I never feared her. So I could tell her all of the stupid things that came to my mind. And that is something I never want to take for granted, especially after I've interacted with so many people, been to different countries and whatnot. That relationship dynamic changes depending on the person you're talking to.
Indeed. And you also talked about supportiveness, especially, you know, not just for Agnes, but the people that surrounded you. And I want to just go back there for a bit. For so many of us, senior 6 results or senior 4 results or even P7 results, I mean, they changed the marking system. And we are in a world that is so obsessed with passing. We're so obsessed with, oh, my child is in the papers. I need you to speak to a parent or even, you know, a guardian whose child is not doing quote in quotes well, because you mentioned the fact that your life didn't stop at senior 5. Your life did not stop when they gave you a course that you did not want. And who knows, someone might be out there watching and they feel like they gave me MDD, my life is ruined. What would you love to tell them?
I think as a parent, everything hangs on the way you handle that, how you handle that with your child. Because we all reach these moments when we cannot think for ourselves, you know. I was feeling really bad about my results, but my grandmother did not make it a problem. Instead, he was looking for a solution. He asked me, what can we do? She asked me, what can we do to change this? And I think that was very important for me because she was forward looking. She did not dwell on that problem. Because something I have learned is each one of us is harder on ourselves more than anybody we know, you know. And sometimes people forget that and they tend to pile on that, you know. Your child has failed senior 6. It's not the end of the world. How you talk about that with them could probably send them into a depression or give them some hope for the future. They may be able to recollect themselves and be like, you know what, I probably can redo senior 6 and see what that's like. That instead, if you concentrate on the loss, oh, you've caused me so much loss, lost school fees and whatnot. And this is what I also tell my little siblings who are still in school. Do your best. Even if you fail, there is that level of comfort that comes with doing your best. people will pile on you. They will say, you're so stupid, you could not do this, you're a failure, you could not pass. But there is that freedom that comes with knowing that you went there, you did your best, and maybe your best was not enough. Because it's true. Sometimes our best is not enough. Really.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, with a system that constantly rates us,
Yeah.
Which I think is what the education sector is trying to do, ministry is trying to do with the change in grading. And if you saw, you're not on Twitter X, but there were so many people that were saying, oh, now how will you know who has failed? Because we are so hung up.
I've seen the new curriculum, yes, because I have some little cousins in school. I've seen the new curriculum, you know. It's completely different from what we are used to, and I guess change is always not easily accepted, you know, because when you have something going and you're used to that something, you were measured by a specific standard. The very idea that someone else may not need to meet the same standards that you did makes you feel cheated a little bit, let's be honest, you know. Like, these ones are having it easy. You know, you don't have to have grade 1 to grade 4 or something like that.
Why
or
they
failure.
coming home over the weekend? For us, we stayed there.
Yeah, there is that thing that comes, you know, that and honestly, it comes from a place of, I suffered. Everybody should have some taste of that. Sometimes, well, yeah.
So currently, you are working as a climate change specialist. What do you think we are taking for granted, especially as Ugandans, as far as climate change is concerned? I don't know if you experienced, there were some, you know, rains that fell, I think about a week or two ago, and then suddenly everyone is, oh my God, you know, it's until something sparks off a conversation from either personal experience. But how real, you know, is the climate change conversation? Because most people think the bag is the bag, that, you know, you guys are just out there minting money, getting those awards and bragging rights. But how real? What are we as Ugandans ignoring?
You know, adaptation. I think as Ugandans, we don't really know that our systems, our infrastructure cannot handle any little shake. That's why anytime it rains beyond the normal, everything is flooding and whatnot. But that is going to be our new reality. And you can think that somebody is getting the bag or whatnot, but that person actually put, especially, I would say, for me as a specialist, I put a lot of effort and learning into understanding exactly what I'm talking about when I do. And when we talk to businesses, for instance, here's what I would say, especially for businesses. Businesses understand profit and loss.
Yeah.
So if you can tell them that if you have a flood, this is going to be your loss, and this is what you can do to proof your infrastructure against that, they will listen, because they are thinking, you know what?
That's the language they understand.
That's the language they understand, you know? But I think it's bad to have a rude awakening in that aspect where everything floods, or you have a prolonged drought. We have rain-fed agriculture in this country. You know, if it doesn't rain on time, you know what's going to happen. You are not going to get the food that you need to feed the population on time. And somehow everything goes downhill like that. So for me, this is it's a very serious thing, because I come from a geospatial perspective where we used to do these monitoring models where you look at how the world has changed, how the landscape has changed over time. What are some of the factors that influence that? So there is enough evidence, honestly, to support this,
climate change is real.
But at the same time, I understand from the perspective of a Ugandan, we have so much going on. There is poverty, there is all these other factors, you know. If you have to go to someone in my village who probably cannot afford soap, climate change may not be on their top priority. Thinking about climate change is not up there. We are thinking of today's survival when even tomorrow's survival is not guaranteed. So there are some of these factors. So I always have empathy when I'm thinking of African countries in particular, because I understand the situation. I grew up in that same situation. So I cannot just overrule all of that and be like, tunnel vision, you people just need to take climate change serious. You need to, but I understand some of the factors that actually sometimes take precedence.
Yeah, but also the fact that it's a layered conversation.
Yes, it is a very layered conversation, honestly.
Your career, again, like I mentioned at the start, from Kivoha to, am I allowed to mention one of your workplaces?
Yes, for free.
Okay, from Kivoha to the World Bank, what are some of the lessons that your journey has taught you? I mean, you've talked about resilience, not counting yourself out, but there is a statistic that a number of women, I think they put it at either 64% of women would not apply for an opportunity until they are sure
that they're going to
get that they qualify. Yet they said men, on the other hand, audacity of a white man, they will go for it. So to the ladies that are watching this, what are some of the things that you taking the dares, being able to leave this country, because some of us are still here because we are really attached to the country, but being able to pursue the things that you have been able to pursue at the level at which you are at the moment?
You know what, that's a very important question, because now I believe everything can be learned. That's my golden rule. Everything can be learned. If I'm looking at a job, even if I have 40%, the 60% can be learned. One thing I have done my entire career is never count myself out. I see a job, it's head of sustainability wherever, I am going to send my CV. And I do this thing, by the way, to gauge which level I'm at, where every year I look for a job that is out of my league and I send in my application. I do get my regrets. But I've developed, I think for majority of us, especially women don't know how to deal with rejection. And that's a big thing. That's why there is that statistic. It's not that you really, really want to be sure that you can get this job. It's that idea that you're going to be rejected. And then you may feel less than, not so accomplished or whatnot. But trust me, I have had as many rejections as I've had successes.
So you only miss the shots that you don't take?
Yes, you miss the shots that you don't take. And you don't really know what's out there for you unless you try, to be honest. So,
speaking of which, one of the things, especially as women in Uganda or world over, there's like a regression, trad wife, soft life babe. The feminists fought for us to work. I want to be in my house and take care of myself. There is that conversation around, also, are you just going to be a career woman? What about other things? There are women that I know that have talked themselves out of pursuing a career because of the biological clock and etc. How have you been able to navigate being able to even leave entirely the country? I wish I had all day talk about the dating scene that side, because for a lot of women, if I am to live here, my target market, my dating market is in Uganda, and now I'm going to like an entirely different country. You recently had to move countries as well. How have you been able to navigate with the pressure to succumb? Your friends are collecting children, you're collecting career, and what would you say to a woman in a situation like that?
I don't know, has Agnes sent you or something? Because a woman reaches a certain point in life where everyone is asking those questions. The pressure does not really come just from you. It comes from everybody. It comes from seeing your friends move on to the next thing, start their families, seeing sometimes even your little sisters, they may move a little faster than you. And as a woman, like you said, we do have a biological clock, And I mentioned before that I chose to enjoy the season that I'm in. So for me, because I knew my career was important for me, I knew I came from really, really far and I wanted to see this through the end. I thought about all of those things. This is why it's important to do career planning. You know, you don't just fall in cups. You have to, you have to have a plan. You have to think through some things. You have to, the biological clock is real for us women. It's not a lie. It exists, though every time someone mentions it, we get pissed. But it's real, you know. So the thing I did for myself is the moment I turned 30, I went and did a fertility check. I went and did the whole 9 yards, you know. Checked everything, my egg count, whatnot, quality, because these services do exist. And any career woman, I think, would have the resources to do that, to be honest. Majority of them do.
Be able to, like,
to have a family, yeah. That's why I don't really think that if you don't want to have kids, well and good, you don't really have to think about it. Go. Yeah. By all means, chase that career.
But for those that really feel like they need to tap into that.
But if you want to have kids, it's okay. You go and you check out things, and, you know, then you have a plan, you know. And I have learned over time that every single woman is different. There are women who, for instance, get infertility, suffer from infertility at 26, 27. And you cannot, and there are women who give birth in their late 40s.
I saw a statistic that for the first time ever, more women are giving birth in their 40s compared to, you know, girls in their teenage. So
yeah, because the employment world out there is not so kind to to women. You know, there is that little tax you pay when you have kids and have to take time off.
Yeah,
that hidden tax. So I think many women fear that, but also, you know, at some point you are on a trajectory. You can see the finish line, and you're like, tunnel vision. I need to see this through before I can have kids and whatnot. But it's always good to check. You know, it's really good to check. I make sure I do my annual checks. You know, make sure everything is fine. I maintain a health regime because my physical and mental health are both important to me. Yeah. And that just doing that alone, you know, and trust me, this is for the strongest, because you can cave to pressure. For me, because I was never under pressure. Even now when Agnes is like, my great-grandkids, blah, blah, blah. Because my whole life, she taught me to make decisions for myself. I still do that. Yes, you can tell me whatever you want to say. At the end of the day, I have to make a decision that works for me, you know? Because here's the thing, children is the same as weddings, you know? We will come and see you when you've given birth, but the rest of the journey is for you and your child. Okay?
And you can't take it
It's
back.
the same, you see. I love attending weddings. I will come and eat the food. But when the marriage gets tough, I am not there. I will not be present, okay? I can say sorry after things have crumbled, but that's where it stops. So it's the same with kids, you know. And I learned the importance of having kids when you have both the mental and emotional maturity to handle them. Because I see it a lot, unprepared parents destroying a child's life along the way. And you can actually see it happening, you know, slowly, because they just fell into stuff, found themselves.
Because it's a box.
Yeah, I know. It's a box they needed to tick, but they were not ready. They don't have time or whatnot. So I decided to look at my life in terms of seasons, you know. When it's my seasons to do career building, I have done that. I think I am now in a comfortable place in my career. When it's time to have kids, I won't have any issues with like taking time off to take care of my child, because that will be my season for that. And I want to enjoy that season. And I think it's in the best interest of whichever child I have that I am able to be there, to be present for them. Yeah.
Agnes, if you watch this, I didn't hear any timelines, so you're going to have to be a bit patient. But you know, I don't want to overdwell in it, but the reality of the fact that the pressure will come But at the end of the day, as an individual, what are you allowing drive you?
Yeah.
And just as a disclaimer, men have a biological clock too. So you too need to be checking it out, because statistics come through and you're like, hey, guys, what's happening? But take your time, as Danny says, because unlike, I don't know, what do people take back? Unlike appliances, where you're like, you can't take kids back. And
No.
I think that from what you've said, kids are very deserving of a loving and ready environment to
And
have
healthy
them.
environment. Yeah.
So Bambi womb watchers, first be coming down. We have a career to pursue. What is one of the things that, especially about moving, like biggest culture shock?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I've moved a lot. My first moving was to the Netherlands for my master's. Different language. I had never seen a train before. I had never been on a plane before. So I would say that was like the biggest cultural shock. You know, here in Uganda, we are raised to humble ourselves, you know. We try to shrink ourselves so everyone shines and whatnot. And then when I moved to the Netherlands, I found them so direct. At first, you may think it's rude, but I kind of like enjoyed it. It was refreshing that, okay, people here tell you what they think, and it's up to you to act on that and do whatever you want with it. I found it to be healthy, more healthy, that people are direct. It's the same with our careers. We are not really taught to be go-getters, you know. Somehow we have this respect, big respect for authority, whether earned or not. And we spend our lives trying not to step on any toes, whether it's for our own good or not, to such an extent that your boss can say something wrong and you won't correct them in a meeting because you think it's disrespectful to clear the record.
Yes.
And I wouldn't say that I was raised that way because I was very clear with my grandmother, but I knew that the wider society was not used to that. So I used to reserve my directness with Agnes. And then whenever I'm around other people, I would default to timid, shrinking yourself, you know, not saying much and whatnot. But moving around, going in that cutthroat professional world out there where everybody's bold and assertive and outspoken, I realized I was going nowhere with my career unless I adjusted, you know, because sometimes you even have good ideas, but you can't speak them out because you're not used to taking the spotlight, speaking out and whatnot. So you tell someone else, and the next time you're seated in a meeting, they will present your ideas their own. And they will shame, and it will kill you inside, you know?
Yeah.
So I learned to take what's mine, you know? I learned to advocate for myself, to speak up, to not be shy. It takes a little bit of getting used to. And, you know, I realized it was, I think apart from Nigerians, they are quite outspoken.
Oh, they are.
Majority of Africans, and especially women, it's more pronounced among women. We tend to shrink ourselves so much that sometimes it's really sad to watch, you know, because by the time you reach the level that I'm at, you're smart, like you've done so much, because we don't really stumble into these careers at all, you know. You have to give it 110% to get there.
Yeah.
And then you reach there, and then you have this barrier that you've placed on yourself because, you know, this is the culture you've grown up in, and it's difficult to shake, to be honest. I can speak about it, but I can tell you that it was hard, and it's hard. It's hard that every time you speak up, when you go back home, you're like, oh shit, what did I do? Like, you second guess yourself. overthink about every single little move that you make. Because that is the environment we've been brought up in. When you have to have a conversation with your manager, there are some things you don't want to speak about. You won't complain because that's bad, but sometimes you actually need to complain when it's necessary.
I mean, we could start with the little steps. Like, I think for me, one of my like, I'll call it like feminist forms of rebellion is speaking up. If a border guy is riding like a mad person, I'll be like, hey, don't do that. Like, I started training myself from speaking up at the salon. If my nail guy is doing something, but it's so hard.
Those small things, you know. I used to walk out of the salon with my hair looking crazy and pay the full amount and go home and cry about it. But now, I'm sorry, you will remove it and redo that hair.
I won't even let you go halfway because whose time are you wasting?
No.
So I think I hear you on having to practice, and sometimes it's okay to be the difficult one, especially if you're doing things, you know, in the right parameters. But again, it's tough.
Yeah, I think you need to find what you're comfortable with at a time, you know, and keep pushing that comfort zone slowly. That was the reason why I actually left Germany and moved to the US. I thought that was my comfort space. I had a team that I loved working with. I loved everyone in that team. And somehow one day I woke up and thought, you know what? I think you're getting comfortable, because it's very easy to get comfortable and not challenge yourself. You have a good thing going, but there is more to life than sitting in your comfort zone and festering there for the longest period of time. And it was a really good decision, because I think if there is a place you can grow fast, both emotional maturity and physically, it's the US. Yeah. You will grow. You will grow really fast, to be honest. You know, you cannot stay in your cocoon. You cannot find your little comfort space and stay there.
It just is set up like that. You either grow or
you either grow or wither. That's the thing. Because when you're presented with two choices, grow or wither, you know, you have to make a choice there.
Danny, we could talk till the cows come home. But I think you've touched on almost everything that I had in mind, because I also think that we share our experiences and set the ball rolling for, you know, someone else to start somewhere. And I would also love to let you go and probably rest. But I think my very final question before you ask me your two would be, if you were to meet Daniela in Kiboha, she has just come back, you know, from a good day of play, and, you know, canes are awaiting her, what would you tell her?
I would tell her it gets better. I mean, I didn't know it was bad then, to be honest with you. I know when people hear someone grew up in a very small village or whatnot, they think, oh my God,
no shoes, jiggers,
I'm sorry, whatnot. It was fun. I used to love scratching my little jiggers at night, and you don't sleep. No, it was fun, to be honest.
Because that's the life you knew.
That is the life you know. Those are the friends you know. It's fun. You play with them. You come home fully contented. You sleep. You're happy. You know, ignorance is bliss, and it's very, very true to the word. Ignorance is bliss. You don't know anything that you're missing out at all when you're in that environment. But to some extent, I think I've never been at a point where I'm like, I want to change this and this about my childhood or where I grew up from or whatnot. I enjoyed that experience, to be honest, and I didn't know there was more out there until I found it. And it's really, really great. I'm very grateful that I did find more out there. I did look for more out there, because it's you don't just find it, you have to look for it. You know?
I think that explains why when we are walking around, you people don't throw money anymore, man.
I know.
When we were younger, we used to just randomly land on money. You people just...
And it would be like the best day of your life, because you found, you know, that blue 100 shillings.
Our age is showing.
And you go and you buy pancakes. 10 of them. 10 Chicken, pancakes. We had a life, you know. We had a life. I don't know. I feel like kids nowadays, I'm sorry for you, honestly. You're not having the life that we had.
We really did have a life. So shoot, 2 questions from you.
So one question might be on a personal note, you know, because, you know, I know like having a career and dealing with health issues is never an easy journey. Especially, you know, ladies, we have some issues that are very specific to us, not to everybody else. I want to know from your experience, how did you navigate that with your career? Because it's hard dealing. I know a bit about your journey with Endo, and I know that it's hard dealing with that while at the same time having a career. You're in the media. I still believe the media ecosystem in Uganda is very male-centered. So I would like to know from your perspective how you handled that, and what kind of advice would you give a young lady entering that space?
Entering the space. Real quick, it's a very sad way to live though, but I try not to let Endo define me. However, because of what we previously talked about, being able to speak out, when I find that I am unwell, I will tell you. Right from employment, if I'm seeking for employment and you want to give me a gig, I'm up front. I say, hey, I do have this condition. It has cost me, but it's because I've learned how to advocate for myself. I would rather let go of a job, because you know I love for my work ethic to speak for me. So I tell you up front, but I also realize we're in a capitalistic world. Have you seen the bills? I'm not yet there financially, you know. I recently put up a call for Mpuga to give me some of his 500 million, but you know, it hasn't yielded. So I have to remind myself that even though I am unwell, if I do not show up for myself, I will not have a career. So it's that very thin balance of, yes, I'm unwell. This is a chronic condition that's not going away, but I also have to put food on the table. For the ladies wanting to join the media space, I think that sometimes I feel like we have not done enough as women in the media space to sort of, you know, make it a bit easier, because like you said, it's male-centered, it's male-owned. I think that sometimes it's okay to be willing to walk away and start your own thing. I have people like Maritza that, you know, decided be ready to stand and say, I can't take this. I don't think you have to compromise and be the pick-me in the space just to thrive, because the very system that is anti-women will throw you out. So come in, do what you need to do, but when you realize that this conflicts with my values, or I'm being silenced in one way or another, be willing to walk away, because like you say, there is always more.
There is more.
I think for me, that's what I would say, top of the head.
Okay, know when to pack it. And leave.
Exactly. Because I mean, sometimes part of a resistance is being able to say, man, bye, I'm done. You don't want to die, right? Because the movement still needs you. That's if you subscribe. I think for me, that's what helps me, because we are replaceable, very replaceable in the media.
No, we are replaceable everywhere.
But
we are
like
replaceable everywhere.
There's always fresh talent everywhere.
Everywhere we are replaceable. That's why for me, as a goal, every year I look for one skill that I'm missing in my career, and I do that, you know. If that's why I apply for these jobs. If I applied for some big job and they did not take me because I don't have any background in comms, I am doing a comms course. I'm sorry, I'm doing a comms course next.
Danny, thank you so much for doing this with me. And I think my take home is, learn from the rejection that you get, especially rejection in the professional industry. If one skill is lacking, you know, unfortunately in Uganda they don't tell you. You might never even hear from them.
I will haunt you. I'm like, please provide feedback. Why don't you want me? Rejection hurts, and women, we hate rejection. For me, my key takeaways: get comfortable with rejection, because you cannot get ahead without rejection. You're going to have so many rejections, but out of those, you will have one or two that work out that you will actually really like.
Thank you so much, Danny. And thank you so much for sticking with us all the way from the time we began. I really do hope that out of these very many gems that my friend has shared, that you'll have something to take home. But until then, catch you in the next episode.
Bye.